That's good.
Welcome everyone to Season 3, Episode 110 of the Premier Pod. I'm your host, Yash Bika, joined by my co-host, Tyler Chan. And in a pretty eventful Premier League week last week, it was last weekend, I would say, we've got a game, a Big Six game, or quote unquote Big Six game that actually lived up to expectations, actually lived up to more than expectations. And we had an overall, I would say, somewhat low scoring weekend. I know Leicester put 5 against Sheffield, but it was a pretty good weekend overall. Not the most exciting, but not the most boring, I would say. But we have to start it off with the Arsenal-Tottenham game. Arsenal ended up winning this game 2-1 at the Emirates. What was crazy here was the play of Erik Lamela. Just Erik Lamela in general, just the enigma that is Erik Lamela. I think we have to acknowledge that. I know Tyler right now is rocking an Argentina jersey, but don't worry, it's not an Erik Lamela Argentina jersey. It is a Paulo Dybala jersey. But it is the enigma of Erik Lamela, the one where you see him perform probably one of the greatest goals that will probably go down in Premier League history, a Rabona, like a clean Rabona goal. And then for him to do probably one of the most dumbest moves in Premier League history, just straight up elbowing a Arsenal player. Pretty much, if you were to ask any Tottenham fan, just sums up Erik Lamela's career in a span of, I would say, maybe 45, 60 minutes. He was subbed on for Heung-min Son, I believe. So he didn't even start the game. And I remember one of our friends, he just kind of, he basically said the same thing about Erik Lamela's career. It's just that it's just summed up in that red card right there. That the beautiful Rabona goal and the red card. Just the dichotomy of Erik Lamela. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know if Tyler, you could explain it any better.
No, that's basically, we don't even have to explain it. You just have to see, you just have to watch the game and see what he did. Where, unfortunately, Heung-min Son, he was out for...
He looked like he picked up a hamstring injury.
Yeah. It's just one of those pulled hammies. But, Erik Lamela got subbed in and basically, like as you said, just scored a first-time Rabona into the bottom right corner and put Tottenham ahead at that time. And we were just thinking at that point, it's like, all right, I remember when Erik Lamela did that, like a sick Rabona goal also in the Europa League against some random small team from middle of nowhere. But like he did it once again in the Premier League in the North London derby. That's insane. Like that is something that will go down as like one of the top goals of all time, just because of the occasion and just the audacity to do it with 3 Arsenal players in the way. He nutmegged Thomas Partey doing it. Like that's crazy.
It was crazy how clean he struck it too. Like he got like the pace correctly and the accuracy just on point. That was insane.
I know it's hard to like visualize just being an audio podcast, but just imagine like the perfectly executed Rabona done in real time in a game. But I will say it was kind of
reaction said it all when he was just like, if you're watching,
Reguilon was just following him like as a fanboy, just in awe and shock after the goal. Like when you can impress your other teammates, just like other professional soccer players for a goal, then that's when you know it's gone crazy. That's when you know it's sick. But I will say it was slightly spoiled by the fact that Erik Lamela got that red card from slapping Kieran Tierney in the face for trying to shield it. And that's literally Lamela for you. He does something amazing, and then he just does something so dumb, and he gets sent off. And now the depth of that right side, and I guess he played left because that's where his son played, but just like the more depth of the winger position now is just like a little bit in turmoil because of Lamela being sent off.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I guess going back to that Rabona goal, Tyler, since you played in more organized team soccer than I have, if a opposing player pulled off a Rabona like the way he did, would you as the opposing team be really mad, or would you applaud it, or would your next mission would be to like teach him a lesson, or send one of your other players to like teach him a lesson to not do that again?
It would really depend on the player who did it. Like if it's like a nice guy, like a good player, like if I saw like, one of my friends who I know who's like really good, just like a good all around person, it's just like if he does this, like I can't even be mad. Like that was a good goal. And usually I would be like that for most people. But if like the other person is like an Erik Lamela, just like trash talking just the whole time, I don't really play defense. But I mean, if I have to track back and give a little shove, I wouldn't be surprised if he'd be the type to get targeted. A lot of the trash talkers are the ones who get targeted from defenders, midfielders, you know, you can name it. But, you know, I would also kind of go into the stereotype of the people who have the audacity to even try that. It's just like the showboaters, trash talkers. So
they're usually a certain type of player.
Yeah. So, because I mean, most normal people would just, you know, hit it with the left foot or something. But he's like, you know what? Time to show them off. 5-star skill on them. But just how it is. I don't know. These days, I probably wouldn't do anything crazy. I just probably applaud it because I'm just in that old state of mind. I'm just like, it's whatever at this point. I'm past the prime. It's just all for fun leagues now.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was gonna say the red card he got was kind of karma for what he did to Anthony Martial earlier in the season when he basically got Martial sent off for basically he like hit Martial and then Martial gave him a little tap on the face and then he falls down like clutching his face and then he got Martial sent off. So the world of whatever comes around goes around, as they always say. So Lamela definitely got the karma bit him in the back in this game for sure.
I didn't even think about that. That's so true.
It definitely bit him in the back. As a United fan, I was so happy seeing him get sent off because I was like, yes, this is what this guy deserves.
Low-key, no one really likes Lamela. Not even Tottenham fans. He's just, as the gamers would say, he's BM. He's bad-mannered. And like the amount of hype he had also being bought for £30 million back in the days from Roma. And like he didn't really
he was bought
live
with
up
the Bale
to
money, right? Or a year after Bale money.
Believe so, because I think it was him, Soldado, and Christian Eriksen. They're all bought as like part of the Bale money, and then the only real person that kind of panned out was like Eriksen, or no, was it Paulinho? I mean, it was something.
Paulinho was there.
It was literally like it was such a fail. But Erik Lamela has not really gotten that much better than when he first came to Tottenham, in my opinion. He's just done a few flashy things, but it just still feels like he has the mentality of a young man.
Yeah, and
or young boy.
I guess we don't want to spend too much time on Lamela, but he is definitely the perfect embodiment of a stereotypical Jose Mourinho player. Like Mourinho and all of his squads, I feel like always has that one player that the only reason he's there is just to really annoy the heck out of anyone he faces. For United, it was always Ander Herrera who was playing that role of just like doing the most just antic wise, just like some of the most foolish things. So like just rolling around a lot or like really getting into other people's faces and just riling people up. At Chelsea, it was like Diego Costa. And now at Tottenham, it's Erik Lamela. I'm trying to remember who was it at Real Madrid. Would it be like Pepe?
Yeah, it's definitely Pepe. I mean, Sergio Ramos as well. Yeah. Just
so he always has like
it's like who.
He always has like, I feel like wherever he goes, he always has like that one guy that just like his main goal is just to annoy the crap out of like the other team.
Yeah, I feel like there's players we can just name off the top of our heads that are just known for being kind of somewhat bad-mannered. And it's just like, or not bad-mannered, but like, you know, ones who just get a little too riled up, you know, like Vidal or like, you know, who's a little hot-headed.
Yeah.
And just, like, I feel like every team kind of has one of those players. Even like Liverpool, I feel like right now is Thiago. Like really? That'd probably be the person I think of because you don't really realize it, but like every game, I feel like he gets a yellow card for like some weird slide tackle. Like he just goes crazy for like just split seconds every game. Like he just gets way too aggressive. It's like, relax. What the heck was
that? Oh man, that is true though. I still think like I definitely think that each team kind of has like that player. Like if you were to maybe relate it back to NBA, like a Draymond Green, that's just like he gets everyone really hyped up due to his aggressiveness and just his overall mannerisms. But I feel like Mourinho, his specialty is like finding that player and then like raising his intensity to like extra notches to like make him even more of a nuisance. But also that ends up coming to bite him in the back when you know he elbows people and gets a red card for it. But dang, I will say for overall. For Arsenal, this is actually a really good result for them. I know we've been talking about Tottenham this whole time, even though Arsenal won the game. But Arsenal did this without Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, who this season obviously hasn't been their best player statistically and just overall hasn't been their best player. You would have to give it to more of the youngsters like Saka, Kieran Tierney and such. But Aubameyang was left out of this game for disciplinary reason. So Lacazette got the start, but they found a way. Even after that Rabona goal, they found a way to bounce back. And I remember watching an analyst for this, like analyzing this game, and one of the reporters, I think it was like Robbie Musto, he was upset the way Tottenham set up for this game, where they decided to sit back most of the time instead of trying to press and make sure that Arsenal defense makes mistakes. They just let them have the ball. And because of that, Arsenal were able to comfortably play out the back and find a way to win. And if I'm Tottenham, I'll be really upset because it's like, dang, I know we said this before, but it's like we're not even getting like good Jose Mourinho second season vibes. It's like, it's just bad vibes this entire season after like the month of November. It's just been bad vibes.
I can definitely feel that. As a Liverpool fan, it's just, let's just have the season stop. It's like Las Vegas Raiders just pre-Thanksgiving. And then after Thanksgiving, it's just like, it just goes downhill.
Oh, yeah.
But I would say for Arsenal, Aubameyang, he got that disciplinary reason to, get sat out because I believe he was late to practice or something. Mm-hmm. And then someone tweeted a photo of him being stuck in traffic. It's just like, look, he's outside my window, mate. He's right here. But he's just like a Ferrari, just like in chrome, just stuck in traffic. But I mean, I was surprised that even despite that, he's one of their star players. He's the captain, and he still didn't even get subbed on. They didn't even need him. Like, they did better without him almost. And like the intensity of Arsenal, that whole first half, I felt like they were all like cracked on Red Bull. Like, I was thinking, holy cow, like it seems like they're on ×2 speed, and Tottenham were just, meandering about and trying to survive at times 0.75 speed. It just looks like two different teams like just came in with two whole different mentalities for it. And it was like kind of shocking because even I think us too, when we predicted this game, we both said Tottenham were going to win based on like just form of the players and just form of Gareth Bale in particular, Old Man Bale. But even Old Man Bale got shut out. Son unfortunately got injured, and Harry Kane couldn't really do anything on his own. So like
he had that one chance. I think it was like that free kick, right? Or where he like hit the post at the last closing seconds or closing minutes of the game, something like that. But even still, like, and generally,
Davinson Sanchez came in with the yeah, that was crazy. But even then, it was just like it was Arsenal's day.
Yeah, it's weird because I think Arteta has shown that when that team actually shows up to play and like actually listens to him and doesn't make dumb errors, like they can actually win games. They won the FA Cup last year because they didn't make dumb errors and they hit him on the counterattack. And we've seen at certain games this season against Manchester United at Old Trafford that if they stick to a game plan and don't screw up, because they do have a lot of players that have a tendency to make a lot of mistakes, but if they can get rid of the mistakes, they have shown that, hey, that at least they can perform. They just got to get rid of the mistakes. And it was one of those days where they just didn't have the mistakes in them. And then, they were able to win. They beat Tottenham. So I think this is a big result because I think the past 5 North London derbies, I believe, they've gotten Tottenham's way or they've been draws. So this was like a big win for Arsenal to kind of get that I guess the bragging rights back in the rivalry. But I feel like Arsenal now have a chance to, if they can keep up the momentum, I think they might have a chance to finish above Tottenham for the first time in I think a couple of years. So that's going to be a good one to watch, is just to see if Tottenham can bounce back from this and actually try to finish above Arsenal, because it doesn't look like they'll probably get top 4 at this point. I think top 4 is 2 out of the picture for Tottenham, but maybe it's there, but I don't know. But overall, it was a really good North London derby. It lived up to expectations. As I say, exceeded expectations. A very, very fun game. But moving on to the Manchester United West Ham game, it finished 1-0 in Man United's favor. It was an own goal by Craig Dawson that sealed the fate for West Ham. No Jesse Lingard, obviously, because of the lone parent. I guess like not obligation, but the rules where if you're the parent club, they can't play against the parent club in the Premier League. So no Jesse Lingard for West Ham, but Mason Greenwood, he did start up top in this game. Martial was not in the starting lineup. I would say Mason Greenwood, I've said it before, but the kid looks really sharp. I know his goals, he has not scored as many goals as he did last season, where he basically lit up the Premier League during the Project Restart. But I will say, even though he's not getting the goals, he is still contributing a lot in terms of making good runs. He had a chance to basically score, I think, a brace at this game, but he just hit the post twice in this one. But overall, even in the games he started, I feel like the games he started as striker, you can kind of see the natural tendencies he has of being a striker. And I know a lot of times when he's played out in the right wing, and right wing isn't his preferred position. He's definitely a striker by heart. And I feel like he's not utilized well enough on the right wing. I would love to see him get more opportunities as a striker. So I'm glad Solskjaer is starting to give him some more game time as a striker, because I think that's where his future is. And he just looks really sharp. He just looks like he adds more dynamite to the United front line than Martial has this entire season. So I'll leave that at that.
Dude, the entire season? Holy cow.
Yeah.
Even last game, Martial
has not been very sharp this season. I just don't know what's up with him, man.
I mean, he did pull the pen in the City game. I'll say that.
Mm-hmm. He did do that.
He got something.
I mean, he's not been like a total disappointment. I know we've mentioned this before, but as the years go by, I feel like Martial isn't really going to live up to the hype and expectation that United had for him when they signed him from Monaco, where they signed him to be like the next greatest player in the Premier League of all time, like Thierry Henry-esque. It's looking more likely that that's not going to be the case. And, I feel like now Martial has kind of have to find a way to kind of rekindle some of that magic he had. And maybe he's not going to live up to the expectation of being like the next Henry and stuff like that. But if he can at least become more of a consistent, person that can produce, I feel like he's still valuable to the Manchester United lineup, but I don't know if he's still starting 11 quality based on this season, because, this is like, I think, year 5 of Martial at Manchester United. I know last season he really did well in terms of scoring 20 goals in the season, but it's like this season he's starting to show that maybe last season was maybe a bit of an anomaly in his career, and maybe this is kind of like seasonal average you would expect from Martial. I feel like maybe he's like living up to Lacazette level hype, where it's like he had all this hype and then he's now at 24 and it's just like, dang, this is like kind of like what we're going to get. If you get what I mean. Yeah,
it's like he's already hit max. He's hit his, the ceiling?
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, this is just the best he's ever going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And dang, that's actually crazy, because that means I don't think Martial was going to settle being, a bench player, or like a rotational player. So at that point, it's like, I guess you have to move from him, but who would you bring in instead at that point? Like, I feel like that's a question we've always been kind of answering. And then I always myself also still think it's Greenwood, because Greenwood, he's 2-footed. Like, he can use both feet. And even in this game, although he hit the post twice, like, he had that mentality. He's like, I'm going to take my shot. I'm going to find a way to take my shot. Mm-hmm. And he let it rip. And that's the kind of mentality you need as a striker. And for Martial, it's very much like
he's too timid.
It's not always there. Yeah, he's too timid. Or timid. He just tries to dribble about. I'm like, mate, you're not a winger anymore. He's like, just get in there, get the goals.
That's the thing. That kind of, if you were to ask any United fan, the one thing that's very frustrating about Martial is that he will go through spurts where he just looks like a total flop, and then he'll have like that one moment of magic where it's like, dang, this guy is doing things that like some of the greatest players of right now are doing, and he just scored a goal like that where he's just dribbling past people and then literally doesn't put a ton of power in his shot, just like perfectly places the shot in like the corner of the net where it's like unstoppable. He'll do things like that, but he'll do them every now and again. But then you'll get a bunch of games where he just doesn't show up, and it's just like, gosh, what is this guy doing? So it's like, he's definitely probably one of the more frustrating players to follow, where it's just like, you get those certain magical moments where it's like, dang, this guy's doing stuff that Messi or, Lewandowski, like some of the best players right now are doing. He does it in like little spurts, and then it's just like he doesn't do it consistently enough, which is tough, I don't
know about Messi or Lewandowski, but
I'm going to say like,
I'll say that
he definitely does like the in some of the goals, like some of the goals he scores are just very just like very world-class level. Some of the goals he has scored, I remember the one against Watford last season where he did miss the initial shot, but then he like closely dribbles the ball, jukes out the keeper, and then just dinks it over him. I mean,
I remember that. Yeah.
He just does stuff like that where it's just like, come on, like, why can't you do that more consistently? And that's the tough part when you follow Martial. In Martial's journey at Manchester United, I would say.
I mean, even still, it kind of reminds me of Gabriel Jesus. It's just like you want so much out of him, and it's just like, no, this is it. There's nothing more from this. He's getting to the point where it's like it is what it is.
I mean, I agree with you. And then, I mean, I mentioned this before about Martial. It's just the overall kind of frustration factor when it comes to following him. And I will also mention that Bruno Fernandes and Marcus Rashford, there was a picture while this game was being played. I think it was like the 90th minute. Even though both players try really hard in terms of running up and down the pitch, there was a moment in time where both of them were just on their knees, like gasping for air. And it's just like, these two have really carried the United season. I know there have been like spurts of Pogba playing really well. I know Pogba's done a really good job, but overall, Bruno and Marcus Rashford, they're the highest goal scorers at the club right now, I believe. And they've just been carrying the club during this entire Premier League season, which isn't too bad, but it is a pretty over-reliance on two players that Marcus Rashford has shown that he has gotten injured a couple of times. And luckily, Bruno, knock on wood, has not picked up an injury, but yeah, like they've just been playing a lot of minutes in the Premier League, just tiling up a lot of minutes. And it's a little worrying, but it's just like United don't really have another option because Donny van de Beek is injured and doesn't play. Paul Pogba is recovering from injury. Daniel James, is Daniel James. You can't expect him to be, performing at Marcus Rashford levels. Martial really hasn't stepped up to the plate this season. Edison Cavani is coming back from injury. So over-reliance on two players, but it's kind of what Solskjaer is kind of forced into doing because it's like he just has to be forced into using these two players. So it's a little worrying, but I still feel like it's not the worst thing in the world, I would say.
Mm-hmm. And I would say with the international break, there is a quote unquote a break for some of the players, but those still in the FA Cup, those who will go to their national teams, their international teams to play, they don't really get a break. But I would say like half the squad who don't go to either will get a little bit of a rest. And I think that'll help not only United, but also just majority of the Premier League because, everyone needs a break every once in a while. But before we also go to like the next topic, I want to also kind of say West Ham. This is actually a top 6 game too. Like this is a game where it was basically Man U at the time.
David Moyes returns to Old Trafford.
David Moyes came back. And he did decently well. And there's a stat that I saw that was actually really interesting to me. Or it's not really a stat, but more like a table. And someone made a table of all the games played behind closed doors in the Premier League and showed what the table looked like. West Ham is, I believe, like top 6.
Wow.
Like Liverpool were right above them because, Liverpool did pretty bad behind closed doors. But City were going off. Man U were going off. Leicester was doing really well. But surprisingly, West Ham was doing really well. And I kind of use this table to kind of see what teams did better without their fans. And I always joked saying that West Ham fans were always kind of more aggressive towards their players, a little bit more toxic. The environment sometimes was a little bit hard to play in at home for the Hammers. And the stats don't lie. Like they're actually doing better about the fans.
Don't lie. Numbers
don't lie. So I mean, maybe they should just close their doors forever
all the time.
But it was also
I also think like it's a combination of things, but I do think that at certain times when fans do turn against their players and manager, it definitely does not help in terms of the confidence of the players when you have fans booing you all the time.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, you also have to think Messi Lingard joined the team during closed doors, so you also have to consider that as a big factor. But I mean, West Ham is one of the clear teams that really got a significant boost playing behind closed doors, and Liverpool is a clear, significant downgrade from playing behind closed doors because, like right now, the two teams are kind of running away with it. At least in this, closed doors table was Man City, who only lost 5 times behind closed doors, and like Man U actually, which was surprising to me because I was thinking, I was like, wow, they're both integrally just good teams then. And then you can just see how much of a boost Liverpool gets just from playing at home.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, there's also other factors too, just, not having any center backs, things like that. But it really does show that, at least for Liverpool, that 12th man really does play a factor. Just like how for the Seattle Seahawks, being one of the loudest stadiums in the whole nation, I would say, like it just kind of ruins, it really gives a disadvantage to the opposition team. And I'd say like at Anfield too, it's so much of a fortress, so like demanding to even play there. It's just like, it kind of puts the pressure on the other team and also puts the pressure on the Liverpool team to like really perform and keep them accountable. And without that, we're starting to see Liverpool struggle, but I guess that's a good transition.
Yeah, I mean, we were about to mention the Wolves-Liverpool game, Liverpool beating Wolves 1-0, but yeah, I mean, Tyler, you can kind of take it away with this one, with how Liverpool performed, I would say.
And yeah, it was as Klopp said, 3 points he'll just take. Like he doesn't care how he got it. It was a kind of scrappy game, but that's the scrappy game we really needed. It was one of those games where I felt like we didn't play too beautifully. The man of the match was Kabak, who did really well, and then like second place was Daniel Phillips. So that's already saying something about the game. It's just the defense did really well. Diogo Jota scored against his old team. It's always something I think about. I'm like, when you score against your old team, do you celebrate or do you kind of do the, put your hands up and just, say, sorry, I'm not celebrating. But Diogo Jota, he celebrated, and I don't know if it was more relief because he just came back from injury or more relief for the team because they're finally, ahead for once in a game. Both teams have kind of been struggling this season. Wolves losing Raul Jimenez really put a big hindrance on the team. Like I was surprised how poorly Wolves have been doing this season without him. And it really shows like there are certain teams, like we've mentioned before in like other episodes, where like if you take one player out, like the team kind of falls apart. Like if you take Bruno Fernandes out of Manchester United, they kind of fall apart, at least offensively. And then for Liverpool, if you take out Van Dijk, their defense kind of falls apart defensively. And I would say for Wolves, you take out Raul Jimenez, I guess everything falls apart.
Yeah, like all their goals, their hold-up play when they're trying to hit on the counterattack. And also, Adama Traore, the connection him and Raul Jimenez had last season was incredible. But this season, Adama Traore has 0 goals and 0 assists in the Premier League. So Adama Traore has definitely been like one of the major players that has suffered in the Wolves side without Jimenez there.
And Jimenez, it's even crazy that with a skull fracture, he's, eventually going to be back. Like that's crazy. But also Rui Patricio, unfortunately, suffered a pretty bad head injury with a collision with Connor Cody. Hopefully he'll be back soon. Man. Like, praying for him. Hopefully he recovers quickly. But, he was conscious after the game. Like he was still talking, but that was rough. That was something you never want to see. But luckily, he's doing better. But at least for the game itself, I kind of want to go back to that question, Yash. Like, let's say you were in this position of these players, and then you scored against your old team. Ooh. Do you celebrate, or do you just put the hands up? What do you do?
I think it depends. I think if I was I guess quote unquote former club legend, let's say if I'm a Let's say if like say for example like Cristiano Ronaldo, when he scored against Manchester United for the first time against Real Madrid, he did not celebrate. He just kind of put his hands up. I think I would probably do that. But if I played for your club maybe like a couple times, like a couple years, and like I had some good years and such, I think I would probably celebrate because I mean it's not like a form of disrespect. Like I'm not going to go out of my way like Emmanuel Adebayor and take off my shirt and like run around the pitch. If I do like just a normal knee slide or like a Theo Walcott where it's just like, you're just kind of like celebrating with your new teammates, I think that's totally fair. You may get like a certain booze and be like, oh, like screw you or whatever. But I feel like if you left the club the right way and you don't like talk smack about your old club, like maybe like a Di Maria where he's just like, always trolling Manchester United when he can. If you left the club in a respectable way and you score against them, I think you have all the right to celebrate. So that's why I would celebrate. So as long as I don't do I wouldn't do a very disrespectful celebration. Like I wouldn't just start shushing everyone or like running around taking off my shirt, but I would definitely celebrate, especially if I left the club in good terms and, it's just kind of I did the best decision for me. I would celebrate. How about you?
Okay. Yeah, I'm thinking the same. I wouldn't go down to the pettiness level of like, Antoine Winfield doing the peace sign to Tyreek Hill in the Super Bowl kind of pettiness. But like it would really depend on how I exited the club or what the old club kind of role I had was. Like if I was bench warmer the whole time, then it's like it won't really matter. I can celebrate. But if it was like, Steven Gerrard scoring against his old team, then obviously he probably wouldn't celebrate. I probably wouldn't either. Like if I had like a lot of respect, but
I can't remember. Did Suarez score against Liverpool when they tied, or was it just Messi?
No, Suarez scored and he celebrated. Oh. I was like, this man. I'm like, of course he did.
Was it a bad celebration? Or did he just kiss his fingers and then just slid on his knees?
Yeah, like just his signature one. His signature. How did you
feel being in that situation as a Liverpool fan?
I was upset because he scored, but also like I couldn't even be mad because like I was like I know he would do that. Like, do
you think it changes? I guess for him because he hadn't played. It had been what, like 5 years since he last played for Liverpool. Like, does the time frame play a factor's role?
I don't know.
Did
I would
Torres
say
ever score against Liverpool as a Chelsea player?
Not that I remember. Torres did not do really well at Chelsea.
Yeah, but I was going to say he did have like those random moments like Barcelona where he scored.
True. Like Torres was like the most important but also underwhelming signing for Chelsea. Like he helped them win trophies, but like his stat sheet was just so bad.
Yeah, he missed an open goal against United where he literally rounded the keeper wide open and missed it.
That was... If listeners don't know what goal we're talking about, literally just put Torres miss against United. Like that was an iconic miss because he was just like a prolific player. That's like basically if Harry Kane, I feel like, were to just miss an open goal. Like it was that bad. And for me, I feel like for the timing thing, Liverpool fans still hate Raheem Sterling. Like every time he enters Anfield, is it
because he left for money?
He left for money, and also it's just kind of bad mannered when he left too. So like he's just always introduced with like a wave of boos and hurls at him, and he always played poorly whenever the fans are there. So like he only did well at Anfield when there's no fans. So that was playing on him too, but. I feel like Raheem did this kind of grown up a little bit more, but Suarez is always Suarez. He's always going to be what happens on the pitch stays on the pitch, and he's going to be the guy who does whatever it takes to win, and he's always that kind of character, and that's just who he is. So, to see him celebrate, like I wasn't surprised. Coutinho, if he did it, I don't think he ever did score on Liverpool, but he's the type of player where. That one is more of a 50-50 where you'd be upset if he did, but if he didn't, then he'd be like, okay, that's fair. But he also left because he wanted to go to Barcelona, and grass ain't always greener on the other side. I'll say that. Left right at the perfect time in terms of not winning any trophies.
I guess he did end up getting a Champions League, but with the other team, Bayern Munich, not even Barcelona.
Oh, true. That's true, actually.
Oh, man. But no, I think that's true. I think it does play a little bit into the factor of like how long it's been since you left. I know Theo Walcott, when he did score against Arsenal, he did celebrate, but it wasn't like a disrespectful one. It was kind of just like a relief because like he doesn't score that often anymore. So when he did score, he was just like, oh my God, I scored. But
oh my gosh, I scored. It's like my one time to celebrate. Just let me do it.
Yeah. So I think all these factors kind of play in a role to it, but I think overall, I think if you leave respectfully, no matter the timeline, I still feel like you have the right as a player to celebrate if you score, because I know we look at scoring as kind of easy, not easy, but we see these really great players like score 10 goals a season or 15 goals a season. And then you have Messi and Ronaldo scoring 30, 40 plus a season. It's like, oh, they probably score every other game. But for a lot of players, it's like maybe they score one time every 2 seasons, like Luke Shaw, or they're Harry Maguire. Maybe they get 2 goals a season and that's it. Or they're a random midfielder that gets like, they're a winger that doesn't score a lot. They assist a lot, where they get maybe 5 goals a season. So like when that happens, I feel like you should celebrate because it's like it doesn't come around too often. So when it does, you should take joy in that, unless you're losing, of course.
This reminds me of like one of the other, like I listened to a few other podcasts, and like one of the key ones to listen to is like the Peter Crouch podcast, and he mentioned how one of his old teammates, he would rarely score, but he had one of those shirts underneath his shirt that had a message on it, and he would never be able to score to show what the message was, so no one ever knew what it was the entire time he was there, and he never scored. But I mean, you even got celebrations like that you know, it could be something bigger than football, obviously, but I mean, that was just kind of funny, that one to throw out there.
Yeah. Man.
Oh no.
And then it's also crazy when you have players like Messi that scores all the time, but then when he scored against El Clasico, like the game winner, he takes off his shirt and then just holds it up.
That's an iconic one.
Yeah.
Before we get too deep into this tangent, well, what about this? What is your go-to celebration, Yash? Like, you know how like everyone has a default. What would be yours if you can describe it verbally?
Oh man. Dang. See,
you know what's hard? On the spot right there.
When you're not a professional, I feel like professionals do practice their celebrations because doing a knee slide is low key like it looks like it hurts. I'm not even gonna lie.
It is. It does hurt.
Yeah.
Unless you have like the high socks on, but
yeah,
you know, most of the time in Georgia, you're playing on like half dirt and unmowed grass.
Yeah. And it's dry.
It's not
too,
great.
It's not raining all the time, or the pitch is not wet. It's just dry.
Yeah, you're just kind of sliding on sandpaper, it feels like at times. So even turf too, it's just like you want to scratch up your leg, it's like go for it.
Exactly. So I feel like I couldn't perform the knee slide because I'm like I'm not risking damaging my knee, and also I wouldn't do the backflip because I'm not agile enough to do, and I'm not athletic enough to perform a backflip. So I feel like the most iconic one and one of the easiest ones to do is just do the Ronaldo celebration, his signature run and jump. I feel like it's so simple to do, and it's just like very hard to screw up, and also the chances of you getting injured from that are pretty low. Obviously you could just land really awkwardly on your knee and then just like it's gone. But I feel like that one would probably be a go because it's easy to perform and it looks cool. But I feel like that's probably the go-to because everything else, yeah, either that or just running around like a madman, like while all your teammates surround you. So either that one or that one. So how about you?
I feel like yours, from what I've seen from experience, is just running around. It's just like, holy crap.
Yeah, more of a relief that it happened.
Not really relief. It's just more like shock. It's just like, oh! Like, it's just like as if every goal is like you scored in the World Cup. Like that kind of, your face just explodes.
That's the energy you need right
like
there. That's the passion.
It's like that feeling. Like how I describe it is like, you know, when you're a kid and you're just so intrigued by like the littlest things, like you can find your maximum happiness from like getting some random toy, like just some random like little aircraft or like some random like Yu-Gi-Oh card. And it's just like, that just makes your entire day. And it's just like that pure joy and happiness is just so much harder to get when you're older, because like when you're a kid, you kind of experience all the simple things. And it's just like, you know, I got this like little toy, and it's just like it just, this is my entire world. But then when you're older, it's like, man, now you have to do more extreme things, like go on a trip or, you know, do something that's like a life goal and finally succeed at it, and then you can finally get that fulfillment. But for Yash, when he scores, that kind of joy that you can see from like a kid, like it just lights him up. And that's something that's like, I was like, dang,
this is
I wish
also
I could
coming
feel.
from the same person that has that's like Miss Fernando Torres-esque quality misses. Like right in front of the goalpost, like just all he has to do is tap it in and hits the somehow goes up in the air and hits the crossbar. Doesn't even hit the cross. Yeah, it hits the crossbar from like 1 yard, like 1 foot away from the goal. That's
a classic Yash. Can score some bangers every once in a while, but then also miss chances that are easier to score. That's how it is in rec league world. But
yeah, that's just how it be out in the streets when you're not a professional.
I'd say for me though, in terms of my default celebration, I don't know. I always just do the classic, just like one hand up in the air, just like point to the sky. It's just like, I'm not super religious or anything, but you know, it just looks cool. It's kind of, Jake Fromm for UGA, he's not really that cool anymore.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of lost his edge from the UGA fans, things like that. But that celebration where he kind of like runs and puts his arm up and points, very similar to that, I'd say.
Nice.
Is what I do as default. Because it's not also too like showboaty, where it's enough for the other team's defender to try to, take your legs out. So it's just it's low key enough to be like, yay, but also not to, show you off to, rival up the other team to, try to break your legs. Because I don't know, I just have a fear of injuries now. I'm a small boy, a small man.
Yeah. I think that's a good celebration. I think that's pretty good. That's a solid one. Yeah, like you said, it's not one that's gonna make someone else really mad and like want to kick you in the face.
If I was cooler, I'd do the Dybala,
Yeah.
The mask, but
I guess like one last tangent before this, like it always like scares me when players do like really wild celebrations, like a backflip or a front flip and stuff, like Aubameyang and like Nani did it back in the day, because I'm just like really scared because like what if you land awkwardly and then like, you get injured because of that? I would hate to get injured because of a celebration, So
there was a famous player that got injured in a celebration. I don't know if it was soccer or NFL, but I remember there was a time where a player, I think, pulled something doing a backflip or like a dolphin dive, and then that player was out for like a month from the celebration. And I was like, never again would I even attempt something like that. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I forgot who it was. It's escaping me, but if any fan knows, please leave a comment to remind me which player got injured from a celebration.
Yeah, no, exactly. Because that's the always thing that's always been on the back of my mind. I was like, man, this is really cool that they pull it off, but like they have a lot of confidence to be able to pull something like that off consistently. So
guys,
kudos to them that they can do it. It's crazy.
Robbie Keane for still doing cartwheels at like 37 years old. His signature.
Oh my gosh, yes. But that was a weird. Like, I don't know how we got in a tangent of celebrations and other stuff, but that was a good one. But I guess circling it back to the Premier League real quickly, the Leicester City Sheffield game. Leicester won this game 5-0. Kelechi Iheanacho, don't forget the name, the Nigerian, scored a hat trick in this game. Obviously, he was a former Man City player, got purchased by Leicester City, but now he's actually showed up a couple of times this season with some goals, got a hat trick. But unfortunately for Sheffield United, Tyler and I, before the episode, officially deemed them toast. And we can finally, I guess, say it live on air on this episode that they are officially toast for this Premier League season. So that definitely means that they are getting relegated. A dark burnt toast, I would say. They don't even get lightly crisp. Lightly crisp is safe for Fulham right now. They're getting there, but they're slowly etching their way out of the toast zone. And unfortunately for Sheffield, they are crispy as they can get as right now with their toast. But they didn't even get a new manager bounce with this one, because 2 days before the game, or I think it was 2 days or a day before the game, Sheffield United announced that the club and Chris Wilder decided to mutually agree to part ways. So not really a sack, but more of like a resignation, I would say, resigning from your current position. And it's a little bit sad because if you didn't know the Chris Wilder story, it's his boyhood club. He's been here as a manager, I think it's been more like 4 or 5 years. He's been there for a while.
5 years. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's been at the club for a very long time. It's his boyhood club. I think he actually played for the Blades as well. So it's kind of like he was living out his lifelong dream of being a manager. And last season, he took them to unexpected heights. Obviously, Project Restart was not very kind to them. They had a very, very poor record in Project Restart. It carried over to this season, and he was finally let go. And unfortunately for Sheffield, they had an own goal by Ethan Ampadu, and it was just not a good display from the Blades. They didn't even get the new manager bounce. So definitely you can tell Sheffield are just trying to figure out who they're going to want to have and keep for the championship next season and just rebuild from there.
It's so hard to watch Sheffield right now because you know what's coming. You know they're going to lose. Like, it's not even worth playing for pride.
This team somehow beat Manchester United at Old Trafford.
They just
it doesn't
they
make
had to win
sense.
something. It's like, as I say, it's always hard to streak, even if it's losing streaks. So I guess they had to break it some way. It's against Man U. But I don't know. Maybe they're trying to show off Dean Henderson. It's like, You left us. Look what you've done. But
it this is, I guess, one quick thing of it just doesn't make sense because I thought the signings they made this season was going to be enough to keep them up in the Premier League, like Ethan Ampadu on loan, Aaron Ramsdale, a young goalkeeper. I mean, he's not Dean Henderson level, but he's young and he's from Bournemouth. And they signed, why is the striker's name?
Ryan Brewster.
Yeah, Ryan Brewster, the youngster that we thought was going to hopefully contribute a little bit in the Premier League this season. Hasn't done that. They spent a good amount of money, I guess, getting some replacements, but it just has not lived up. They have, all three of them, I would say, have not lived up to the expectation that we had going into the season.
Mm-hmm. And like Sheffield is a like decently large club. Like it has a pretty good following. It's one of the more populated areas of England, if I'm researched
Harry
correctly.
Maguire, Kyle Walker came from there, from Sheffield.
So
they
it's
played at Sheffield United.
I think like Vic Star is a Sheffield United fan.
Oh, nice.
YouTuber. It's just like, it's just like those random teams. And you see like a lot of, I don't know, my reference mostly is like YouTubers. And then you see like, like KSI is like he's he's an Arsenal fan, but I think him and like Mini Minter were around Watford area. Mm-hmm. And then like, but Mini Minter is like a Leeds fan or something. But yeah, it's like kind of things like that. And like R9 Rise, I know is for sure like a Leeds fan, but it's just kind of like those things. It's like, this is actually like a low key kind of big club. It's just kind of sucking. It's like the Jacksonville Jaguars of the Premier League. They had one Saxonville season, and the next season it's like, well, back to Jacksonville right here. So I don't know. I don't know at this point if Sheffield are going to get that bounce back from the Championship back up to the Premier League. Because I was thinking if Chris Wilder stayed, they have a pretty high chance of coming back. It's kind of like when Burnley got relegated and they just came straight back almost within like a season or two.
That was a long time ago. Not like a long time ago, but like it feels like a while. Because I do remember that they went down with Danny Ings. That was like their main player, and then Liverpool bought Danny Ings, and now, I remember that.
Yeah, they trust in Son Dyche, and then he brought him back up, and they're still kind of chugging along in the Premier League. Just always making upsets against, like Everton this past weekend, but they always find a way to stay. And I thought Sheffield was going to be one of those teams that would, entrust in Wilder and they just come back, and get back in the groove like how they did in the previous season. But now I don't know if they're even going to do well in the Championship at this point. Like, unless, it'll be easier for Ryan Brewster to do a little better. Ampadu will be doing a little better too. Like, you can't really go any worse from how you're doing now. So, as they say, it's only up from here after they get relegated. But, I will have to say, give credit to Leicester. They played excellent. Jamie Vardy had some of the best assists I've ever seen this game. And, he's doing it all. Getting assists, getting goals, destroying corner flags.
Yeah, like playing air guitar on corner flags. Like Guitar Hero on corner flags.
I don't know what he has against those corner flags, but just who he is. He just cracked up on Red Bull, literally. Apparently he drinks 2 Red Bulls before every game.
That's not, I don't think that's very good for your heart.
Dude, it doesn't matter. He's a Premier League star. You got to do what you got to do. But that's not saying our fans should do that. Don't do that. But
no. We definitely do not.
It's just a one man. One man can do that, and that's Jamie Vardy. But Leicester, surprisingly, or not surprisingly at least, since it's Sheffield, but they bounced back. I thought it would be the start of the second half of the season demise and decline of Leicester under Brandon Rodgers, but they're showing little blips, little glimpses that it might not happen, or at least as severely. We'll just have to see what happens when they face a team that's non-relegation and see how they do. But
man, but like you said, we'll watch out for the see if that second half slide is going to come for Leicester. But as we mentioned with Sheffield, we've talked about them before. They are officially toast, and we can label it as officially toast because there's just no way they can come back from this one, especially after letting Chris Wilder go. And finally, we have the Everton Burnley game. Before we get really stuck into this game in terms of talking about it, Burnley won this game 2-1, but it was Dwight McNeil that stole the show with his wonderful solo finesse with his left foot, perfectly placed upper 90 in the top left corner. Jordan Pickford had no chance of saving that one. It was an absolute beautiful goal, like probably one of the best goals of the season. And then obviously the Rabona that Erik Lamela did the next day. But this was a top quality finish from Dwight McNeil, who I believe when I checked, he was on the under 21 England roster for the, I think he was the Olympic qualifying. So kudos to him. He has been, he's that one player in Burnley who kind of has doesn't fit, I guess, like the Burnley stereotypical mold of like very tall, very physical player. He is like, he's one of those players that has shown flashes of him doing very skillful things and performing the spectacular. And we saw that today where he performed probably one of the best finesse shots of the season. That was incredible, that goal.
It was it's so weird seeing Dwight McNeil kind of fit into this team. Like he's not, he doesn't really fit. I mean, there is like Ashley Westwood and like Brady.
Yeah.
Forgot his first name.
Robbie Brady.
Irish guy.
Robbie.
Yeah, Robbie Brady.
Yeah.
And like they're not like huge. They're not, like Chris Wood. They're not like, Vidra,
Ben
those
Mee,
kind of players up top.
Like
Ben Mee, kind of
defenders.
Tarkowski. You can just go through the whole rest of the team. But like
Nick Pope.
They don't really fit that mold. And Dwight McNeil especially, he's more of like a silky kind of dribbler kind of player. And for him scoring this goal, it really kind of showed that he has the potential to possibly get bought out by another team. Because like there's always been talks of other teams trying to, scout him out for their own team. And he came from Manchester United, I believe, like the Manchester United Academy. And he's doing,
he's only 21.
I didn't know he was 21. I thought he was older.
Yeah, literally, I thought the same thing, but I remember seeing him, he was rostered on the under 21, but it feels like he's been playing at Burnley for a very long time, but he's only 21. So he has a ton of potential within him.
He looks a little older than 21. Yeah. I guess it's the genes. But I mean, he scored like a FIFA-esque goal where he just kind of like cut in and then just finessed it far post. Like it was perfect. Alan, he went right past him too. My man got trucked by Dwight. But I mean, this is literally I saw a quote. It was like, you never doubt Burnley. You just got Burnleyed. And that's literally what happened to Everton. And thank goodness it happened to Everton, but as a Liverpool fan, but this is the type of things that Burnley does, like that we're just kind of mentioning, or they always find a way to get the occasional 3 points and just do enough to stay in the Premier League. And that's what I thought Sheffield was going to do. But, Burnley's the OG and just somehow managing to squeak by, kind of like Crystal Palace. Mm-hmm. They just always find a way to stay.
They just do just
despite
enough.
Me trying to they just do just enough. It's like the bare minimum. But they're just so different that it just works. And Dwight McNeil being the odd man out, being the player that just kind of doesn't really fit the mold, just still kind of makes his way into it. Like when you see like Mulan kind of fake being like a man, you see like Dwight McNeil trying to fake I don't even think he's really faking. He's just literally just doing his own stuff in like a team of huge people, and it just works. So I don't know, that's just a weird oddity that I always kind of question. It's just like, how does this keep working?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think given his age,
enigma.
I think there's definitely going to be a point in time where he might get sold to a little bit of a bigger team. I'm not saying maybe top 6 quality team, but just a little bit above Burnley, because Dwight McNeil has shown that he can pull off the spectacular when given the chance. But this game, Everton once again soiling their chances to finish, or at least get really close to finishing in the top 4. They just they cannot take advantage of the chances they are given. And also, I think they have maybe one more game left to catch up with the rest of the Premier League. But all these games that they've been playing have been basically catch up, where they had games on hand in front of the people in front of them, where they could have potentially gotten maybe, I think, 3 points away from Chelsea, 3 points behind Chelsea for 4th place. But they just kept losing, and they lost a chance once again against Burnley in this game. And I just don't get it. I think there was one point in this game where we saw Dominic Calvert-Lewin. He was in on goal. It was like a through ball, and he just had a really bad, a poor first touch, and it allowed Nick Pope to basically pick up the ball and take it away from him. And I was just thinking, if this was August, or if this was September, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, he's basically hitting that first time and it's going in the back of the net. So it just kind of shows that these players, I feel like overall I've gotten a lot better under Ancelotti, and they've shown a little bit more consistency, but you can still kind of see a bit of that Everton stuff, like history kind of crawling back, where it's like these players aren't showing consistently for a whole season. They're not showing up for the full time. And I think it's starting to bite Ancelotti in the back, where a lot of these players are not consistently showing up game in and game out for him. So it's hurting Everton a lot in terms of finishing in the top four.
That's what they get for being the subpar Liverpool team. They just, expectations are lower, so just living down to them.
Yeah. I mean, do you think with these soil chances, do you think they've ran out of chances to finish in the top four? Or you think their top four hopes are done?
I would say for this bit, it's kind of like the Arsenal versus Tottenham situation, where I feel like both Liverpool and Everton are they're on the cusp of top four, but I don't feel like neither have what it takes to get into it, at least for the rest of the season, compared to like the other two above them, like Chelsea and West Ham. Like there's just something about those two that I feel like is just a slight edge on them both. So it's just like, who's going to top who? Is Liverpool going to be on top as usual, or is Everton finally going to top Liverpool? And I still don't think that's going to happen. I think Liverpool are still going to be on top, because it'll be the end of the world if Everton are above Liverpool at the end of the season.
Especially after winning the title last season.
I would actually cry. And I mean, it's already bad enough that Liverpool aren't even top four. So,
yeah, I agree. I don't think Everton can get into the top four because they just spoiled their chances. If they would have somehow found a way to win this game and win the game before that, I would say that they would have a legitimate shot at top four. But I think now it's just a little bit too far gone from them to finish there. But that would be interesting to see for the Merseyside, I guess, side, which club finishes above each other. Like, will Liverpool finish once again above Everton, or will finally Everton? I guess when was the last time that happened? They finished above Liverpool in the Premier League.
I actually don't know. It's
I guess it's probably been a while, right?
It's definitely been a while.
Yeah,
definitely long enough for me to like not remember.
So
that's something I'm gonna have to just fact check, but I don't remember.
Yeah, I think it's been a while too, because I was gonna say that. Yeah, I was just gonna mention that 2012-2013 season, but I remember Liverpool finished second that year, right? That was the year they finished second, or was that the next year, 2013-14?
Oh, that was next year. Yeah, 2013-14.
But they finished second, and then Everton finished in the fifth place, right, for Europa League? I think something like that. They got Europa League that year. Then United Europa League sixth. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with Everton and such. But that was basically what we had. We have no preview section this week because this weekend in the Premier League, it's more of catch up, I would say. A lot of teams are just trying to finish out or catch up with the games that they have missed earlier in the season. Some due to COVID, some due to scheduling of European matches and FA Cup and such. So not a full Premier League slate this weekend. And then the week after that, we actually won't have an episode. So we are taking a break because there is an international break. So we won't have an episode next week, but we will be back the following week once the Premier League resumes. So it's kind of crazy. I feel like in the this season, we were like, man, when is the break going to come? And it's like, finally it comes, but it's only 1 week, one random week out of March. So it is going to be super crazy and super packed, especially once the Premier League resumes once again after that international break. But as always, we'll always be here to cover it. But that wraps up episode 110 for us. As we always say, you can follow us at the Premier Pod on Instagram and Twitter, and you can follow us at YouTube or subscribe to us on our YouTube channel at the Premier Pod, where we post the video portion of the show. Hey, give us a follow on social media. You can always hit us up with questions there on Twitter. We'll always respond to them. Instagram as well. And yeah, we appreciate the support. And if you are listening to this on Apple Podcasts, if you could drop a review or a rating, that greatly helps too. But if not, simply recommending this podcast to someone that might like soccer or Premier League or anything of the above is always great too. And if you can't do that, just listening to it always means the world to us. So thank you so much for listening. But yeah, that kind of wraps up season 3, episode 110 for us. Thank you guys so much. Peace.
Peace.